Howdy guys, Rex here. We are live on YouTube and we're going to show you how to properly set up the Spur Mount. Okay, now for those of you that aren't familiar with the Spur Mount, we're talking about this little critter right here, the Ideal Scope Mount System from Spur. I got this particular one from opticsplanet.com, and this one is actually a very nice one-piece mount. This is quite a bit. It has some features that are very unique to this specific mount that you're not going to see on a lot of other mounts that I thought are actually pretty interesting. So we'll show you kind of the feature sets first off, and then we will get into the design parameters, materials, and then the methodology for how to properly set it up. And it's mostly going to be discussion. This one's already, sorry about that, guys. This one's already been set up for the SPUHR SSG, the SPUHR SSG 08A1, as you guys have maybe seen the guys shooting on earlier videos. And this deal I have originally set up for the IWAR Veldata 3.5 to 18. You guys remember that deal? This battle horse, really good optic. It's pretty close. Forgive me, I'm juggling with a table full of equipment here. So I'm going to try to get this done as good as I can, running solo today. But first off, let's take a look at the mount. I'll show you what the Spur mount is and exactly which one I'm dealing with. And then we'll show you why it's kind of cool. So let me set this down real quick. And we are live. So God knows what could happen if we drop the camera or something like that. And we'll get that rifle out of the way so I can show you the optic here real quick. Okay. So this is the Spur mount. This actual model is the quick detach version that I like a lot. And let's see if it says it on there, the exact model. This is a 0 mil tilt on this specific one, actually. So they can be more universal for different platforms. I can switch optics around on different rifles. And this is model, for those who are curious, QDP Ford 002 for the 34 millimeter main tube, okay? And I put this in the Schmidt & Bender. I run this on my Surgeon, and I also got it set up for a couple other rifles as well. It's actually very repeatable now that I've been running it for a little while. And if you look at the materials here, it's got some pretty good engineering behind it. And you can see how you have the quick detach mechanisms here. And you push that down and see that little plate right there, guys? That's made out of something a little bit harder than this anodized aluminum, is what it appears to be. The camming surface, where it's actually rubbing on there. That's a good design, in my opinion, because as you guys know, as you use these things, on a micro level, there will be some wear encountered on here specifically. Now, this radius of the surface is not going to wear as much as this surface here, because that whole radius is evenly distributed on its wear, but on that one spot where it's camming on, you're going to have a little bit more wear there. So they did improve the materials right there. This is spring-loaded like this, and you can see how the springs are connected inside there. I don't know if you can see in there, guys. But it's actually geometrically, and the way they engineered it, a very smart design. So it grabs evenly on your rails. Even the curvature here and how they have it set up is unique to a lot of, from a lot of different outfits. Another interesting design deal, and then, of course, when you lock these down, they lock. And then so you have to pull this deal on this model up to go like this. Now they have different kinds of mounts, guys. I think they got 90 different mounting configurations for tactical precision applications. And so you can go and study all the different ones they got there. But one of the other interesting things this has is if you look, at the rings, they kind of mounted at a 45-degree angle. So it tightens straight in here and then on the bottom. So it's not coming from straight down, it's coming at an angle like this, which is a very interesting design that I think is actually a pretty good idea for a lot of different reasons. We could talk about that if you guys want to come to the seminar. We can talk about internal ballistic anomaly, or the internal ballistic reasons why That's a pretty smart idea. Of course, you got 3 screws here, 3 there. This is made out of what appears to be a really high quality aluminum. This mount, of course, is very rigid. And what are these extra little holes for? What are those for? That's interesting, right? That's for mounting little accessories, okay? And so this one, you can mount like rails on here or little adapters. And the one on the bottom that's on the mount is aligned straight on with the actual mount itself. And then you have here, looking between the elevation turret and the windage turret, your other mounting platforms here. So you can mount additional accessories, whether that be a little red dot sight or a laser illuminator or IR illuminator, whatever you want to use. And so these are quite modular. And of course on top as well, on the front here, a lot of modularity to this design. And it's actually, and then likewise on this side, that's what those extra holes are for. Each one of those is a very, very modular setup. And so the materials and the design is very smart. One of the reasons I think they went this way is with the screw angle is so that they could make it so it's highly modular as well. So you can have the mounting surface up top, but also in between here, and still maintain the ones on the bottom. So that's pretty cool. So it's a little bit more high dollar than some of the other mounts. They're a little bit more expensive. Let's see what kind of other accessories came in the box here real quick. I haven't looked at this for a little while. Okay. So here's the box she comes in. Hopefully there's nothing scary in here. Okay, so basically it just came with that. This is a deal when you're mounting your accessories in these little holes here. You might have, there's a whole variety of different accessories that you could mount in there. This is a depth gauge that's in here. So you can see how deep you have once you got your accessory attached to your screw doesn't bottom out on the actual scope itself. So that's a detail you want to pay attention to once you have your scope mounted in here, to make sure you're not screwing all the way in and deforming the scope tube. That would not be a good deal. So that's what that gauge is for. And then also they included a whole lot of extra screws in there for those different possible accessories that the guy might have. And so that's pretty neat. This thing is very repeatable. It's actually been used a bit, and I don't see any visible super horrific wear and tear on here. But what I'm going to show you now is the proper way. Let's set this down for a second, guys. I'm going to grab that rifle, hopefully without destroying everything. Let me put this over here. Grab the Steyr SSG as an example of how to use this. All right. So how does this thing properly work? Let's get a little closer. All right. So right off the bat, before you have your scope mounted inside the mount, you're just going to go ahead and mount this on here. And also, if you look in the back of the mount here, guys, got a bubble level. Oh, yeah, I killed it. There we go. And a bubble level back in here. That is actually replaceable. There's a little screw you can take out, and then if you break that, you can use that. So I'm going to mount this on the spot where I had it before. So it just locks on here. And the first thing I'm going to do, you see how this is a NATO specification stain egg type rail on the Steyr rifle. But there's a little bit of play on these rails. And that's done for a variety of reasons. But what you're going to do, this rifle is going to recoil backwards, so I might as well just slide her forward so it's already preset before I lock it down, okay? So I'm going to slide it forward at the same time I lock it down. Now there's screws on the other side of here, opposite of here. And let's see if I can show you real quick. Oh boy. Oh dear. It's getting radical. Sorry about that, guys. Where you can, where you can tighten down live. We are rolling live. Where you can adjust this. So if this is not actually biting in, like if this is just real loosey-goosey, just go on the other side and you just tighten the little screw with the wrench like so. This is the same as the other screws. And you just give her a couple twists until it's nice and snug. Good and tight. You don't want it ridiculously tight, but you want it snug to where it snugs down, if that makes sense. And you want it relatively consistent. Now, the way this is engineered, it's relatively forgiving of the, this versus this, there's going to be a slight difference in tension, obviously. But the idea is to push this scope all the way forward in those little Picatinny tracks, so when the rifle recoils backwards, this thing's already recoil set forward, if that makes sense. Now, you can do that with pretty much any mount you're using. That's a good practice to do, is once you get the mount on there, or the ring, slide all the way forward and then tighten it down kind of in there. Now, that might be a little different on a semi-auto platform, but that's because of recoil, if that makes sense to you guys, okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and actually you're going to use the bubble level in the back that we showed you a second ago underneath here, which I don't know if you guys can see that. Anyways, you're going to use that. The bubble level is going to be very important. That's actually what I'm going to base my level on. Now, you can use the externally mounted bubble level, which works fine too. But that's nice because it's convenient. Now, the trick is, you need this scope to be above the axis of the bore is the main priority. Even though this level down here, in all honesty, guys, the level that is built into this mount is not going to be dead on balls accurate. Maybe they got lucky, maybe it is, but it isn't. But it doesn't matter. All it has to do is be consistent. If that thing is consistent and it's not loose in there and it's tight in there, and it gives you the same reading every time, this is basically going to be approximately level. So what you're going to do at that point is you're going to get this rifle leveled out until that shows level. And then you're going to get your scope. In this case, we're running a PM2 with a standard P4 fine reticle. I'm going to be employing the turrets on this specific scope. I'm going to be dialing up and down. So here's the big difference, guys. Here's where people get confused a lot. So this is making sure that the rifle is level. So you're going to make sure the rifle is level. Then you're going to do a box test, okay? And what I'm going to do on a scope where you're actually using the turret adjustments, I'm going to shoot a group, and then I'm going to dial it up, and then I'm going to shoot another group. And that group, when I use a plumb bob or a level, should be directly above the other group. If it's not, I need to loosen up these little screws here and just align the scope up and down until when I dial up and down, the indexing of the turrets, the group on the bottom versus the group on the top, I'm going to keep holding on the lower group, will be directly above the other one. If it's not, if it's off to the side, left or right, I'm going to twist the scope one way or the other to make sure that my groups are over the top of each other, if that makes sense. That's if I'm using the turrets primarily, okay? Now this is a whole different deal, guys. If I'm using the reticle, it's much more simple. I'm going to get this level, and I'm going to turn this scope. Okay, now on this scope, it's nice because the turrets are usually on Schmidt and Benders are dead on with the reticles. They're very well made scopes. But on a lot of scopes, you'd be surprised the reticle is not always level, or it's not always telling you the same story, that your tracking is not always level too. It might veer off one direction. So, but if you are using your reticle as a holdover device, then you're going to get this level, and then you're going to twist the scope, and looking down range, you're going to just have a plumb bob or a level stick that you have leveled using a level, right? And you will verify that the reticle is level. So just to reiterate, you're going to use this base level just to make sure that you have a consistent point, because that's something easy to read. It's mounted on the gun that's not externally hanging off that you can break off or is going to spin around on here or move around. That's actually good design in here. So on the Spur, you can use this level down here just to make sure the rifle is basically consistent all the time. And being that this optic is mounted above the axis of the bore, you shouldn't have any real bad problems there if you level it properly. But again, just to reiterate one more time, if you're going to be going off of the turrets, then you need to level the two different groups you shoot. You're going to dial it on 0, right there, and you're going to fire a group down at the bottom of your test, and then you're going to crank it up all the way, right? However far you can go on your paper at your 50 or 100-yard test, and it can be at any distance, it doesn't matter. You just have to hit the paper, and you're going to hang a plumb bob to make sure your group that was higher, you're going to aim still at that bottom aiming point, is directly above it. So then you'll just twist the scope and level it that way. Does that make sense? And if you're using the reticle, like a Horus style reticle or a holdover, ballistic holdover reticle, then you're going to level, you're going to make sure that the reticle is level to this rather than the turrets. The luxury, of course, of a real tier 1 scope like this is they're both going to tell the same story. So that's kind of the main deal that people get confused sometimes on when they're trying to level an optic like this is which way to go. Should I level the reticle or should I level the turrets? Well, it depends on which one you're using. And if you got a good enough optic, then it's not going to be a problem. But the Spur Mount is actually a pretty cool setup. And I actually like it. I think that it's working pretty good so far. And so that's what I wanted to show you. For the most part, we can take some questions if you guys are curious about anything on that topic while you're here. But I got that deal from Optics Planet. And I think they got a code or something like that for until December 10th. If you want to shop on Optics Planet for anything, it's the Rex 10 code. It'll give you good deals and different access to different things and like a percentage off or something like that. So, but yeah, that's actually something I do like. Again, they have a whole different variety of different models that they do have available. It's a very, very common, or it's not a very common, but it has a lot of different models. I think there's over 90 of them when I was checking with them. And they're all very well made and highly modular. So that's not a bad way to go. All right, guys, if you don't have any questions, let's take a look here. Hey, there they are. I forget that they fade out. That's very cool. Good afternoon. Hey, guys. Rex, what is the make, model, and do they make for 34 millimeter and 36 millimeter? Yeah, I mean, you can check on Optics Planet and see what they got available. This one is a 34 millimeter. This specific one is a 34 millimeter optic. And so, what in the heck? Add moderator. I hit the wrong button, guys. Gosh darn crazy commentaries. What do I do? Report. Add moderator. Hey, man, this is real life. Let's hit this button. There we go. Is it a leveling wedge? Yeah, they got that too. Oh, man, microphone is clipping, killing your tweeters again, huh? Man, you guys, everyone has a different stereo, man. That microphone sucks, doesn't it? Oh, talk more quietly. All right, turn down your audio. Let me put on my earphones, man. Check, mic check. Let's do this. Forgive me, my friends, for the microphone problems. Let me pull up the chair and we can answer some questions now. If you guys have any questions on mounting that thing, and then I'll be able to listen to my, what do you call it? Microphone clip. Put my earphones on. Meow. Where's the cat? I actually locked the cat in the garage, guys. How am I liking the SSG-08? Actually, it's an incredible rifle. Let's give a quick little tour of that for those of you guys that haven't seen it yet. So this is a little bit dirty, guys. You'll have to forgive me for that. This is the SPUHR SSG-08A1 in 308. And as you see, there's a lot of different accessories on there. We got a lot of different rail mounting abilities. This is an issued type setup. Forgive me. Kind of all over the place. And it has a lot of modular. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way real quick so you can see what I'm looking at. Rolling live. So I'm generally not a fan of a lot of moving parts because those moving parts you have to manage, right? And so when you're talking about a design like this, it's actually a lot of cool features in here. And when I do the comprehensive review, like when you make adjustments, there's this lever mechanism tightens down on it. Your monopod adjustment's actually done in a field expedient way where you just hit that button and you can do your crude adjustments. And we'll do a full review on this SPUHR pretty soon. The cheek pad adjustment is smart. It has a, I'm going to try and trip over cords here, guys. But the cheek pad adjustment has numbers on it. So you can adjust that and be repeatable. If you're trading off or using it or whatever, you can remember where you're at. The magazine actually is a very interesting design. It's very long. And this is a cool feature. For those of you who haven't seen it, you have two different places where this magazine locks in. Right there, and then all the way in. So this is where I'm feeding, when I'm working my bolt, I'm feeding out of the magazine. If I want to feed a single cartridge, and still have rounds in the magazine that I don't use. Like if I need to change ammo real quick for a certain application, I just clip that and then let her hang down a little bit. And now I just lay a cartridge in there on top of the other rounds, and it won't grab the rounds out of the magazine, but you can lay cartridge in single stack type mode, a single feed, if that makes sense. That's kind of an interesting deal. Another thing about the SPUHRs too is they got an incredibly designed hammer forged barrel, which has an incredible round count potential out of it, especially in a 308 like this. These things you can really, let me see if I can focus this thing. Yeah, iPad, I'll tell you what, guys. But you can get a lot of rounds out of them, like tens of thousands of rounds. And also the chamber is done to the European specifications of CIP rather than SAMI specs, which is a whole nother ballgame. That's something we talk about at the seminar. Or if you go to the SPUHR Academy and actually get a chance to shoot one of these things, that's pretty cool as well. But you got a lot of real estate here in terms of your rail. So you can put a device in front of here, visual augmentation system or whatever, that you can put your thermal up here or whatever you need, your night vision type stuff. And of course, I have the old Charlie unit that I put on there. We'll put that back on so I don't lose it. Oh, dear Lord. Thing's crazy. But yeah, the Spur Mount is a pretty cool design. Let's see if we have any other questions that popped in here. I learned today that Magpul AICS magazines are not guaranteed to work for 6.5 Creed, in case anyone was curious. I hit the wrong button again. Yeah, the 6.5 Creedmoor case is a little, with the radical shoulder angle. Let me flip this around. The radical shoulder angle, it's kind of it has feeding issues in a standard 308 magazine sometimes, is what you'll experience, or loading it properly. I find my deal here. You guys love your Spur? Yeah, my friend Bart actually runs a Spur. He came to one of our live fires at that, and I asked him about it because I seen some guys running them. A few guys run them at the live fires, and I finally thought I better get a hold of one of them things and see what the spiel is all about. I thought it was a style deal or something, but actually it's a really nicely designed system. I thought that was pretty darn cool. Yeah, they're real good design. And does it say in here? Made in Sweden, which is good. They're really good metallurgy up there. Real good technology, real good manufacturers. They're very talented up in Sweden in terms of manufacturing things. Everyone has their talents in different areas of the world, but that's one of the things that you get up into Scandinavia, they're really smart at doing. Ivy adjustable mount, where can you find them? Good question. I don't know if they sell those on Optics Planet is where I get a lot of my stuff. If you need to make a huge order of a pile of different stuff, they got all kinds of different stuff available, but you might have to go straight to Ivy if that's not on there. I don't know. I usually Google stuff too, man. There's some other interesting technology that's coming out, by the way. The Ivy mount, for those that don't understand what he's talking about, it's an adjustable scope-based mount deal where you can add a huge amount of elevation to your of tilt to your scope base. They're a little bit of a bugger to get set up properly, and so I actually just run in a straight Charlie Tarac unit on there and messing with that instead. But the Spur's not a bad deal at all. Yeah, Mr. Spur is a friendly guy on Facebook. He'll comment with you. It's a great design for ultra long range, ridiculous distance, specialty application type shooting. I don't think they make a Spur for the 40 millimeter. I don't know. Do they make a Spur for the 40 millimeter? I don't know if they do or not. Let's see here. Been seeing videos but can't buy. Okay. I think your best option is American Rifle Company rings. American Rifle Company rings. Actually, I got some right here, guys. Give me a second. Thanks for letting me know about the audio deal. When I get excited, I start yelling at everything. Is this what you're talking about? American Rifle Company. Okay. It's another set of rings. A bit more simple of a design. They have the clamshells on top, right? There's a little logo there. And that's actually a pretty cool design too. I'm using this on my IOR Veldata. This is a 35 millimeter main tube on here, 3.5 to 18 by 50 millimeter. And this is actually a good mount as well. And these just have thumb screws. You can get them snug, and then you get your Allen wrench in there and tighten them up. And what a lot of folks have been recommending, and Eduardo likes to use these too, as do myself. And if you go on Spur's website, they sell these, the Fix-It sticks. And they come in a kit. I'm sure you guys seen them before. Yep, there's also, the wedge is also a scope aligning tool you place to the cutout in the center of the rings, and it automatically aligns the optic. Correctamundo. Have you ever used the Tracked Toric 30 millimeter 4-20? Oh, looks like the goofy thing froze on us, guys. Well, I think I got most of the upload done there in terms of the mount, so we'll kill her for this evening while she's froze. I'm telling you what, it's unreliable service where I'm at. But yeah, if you have any questions, put them in the commentaries there. If you have any cool discussions or anything, share it down there. And that'll be awesome. No problems there, guys. All right, we'll catch you on the flip side, guys. Thanks for watching.